My man. We are back.
What's up, back bitches?
Yeah. Let the hating begin.
I have to let it be known, ARMTV Nation out there, I've watched a lot of podcasts to try to prepare for coming back into the sport. The most I've watched is Neil Pickup, because you did 4 daggone episodes with him, and it was amazing. And he does this big, glorious intro for T. Bagent, and I'm not gonna even try to duplicate that shit. All I say is, you're awesome, the man, T. Bagent. If anyone is watching, if they haven't watched the full behind the story of the man in front of you right here, Travis Bagent, just go watch that, because that will preset up everything. So if you haven't watched that, push pause, go back to Neil Pickup's podcast to watch everything about Travis Bagent, and you get the fancy intro from the man himself, because I just can't, I don't have the skills for that shit. So anyways, okay, you're back. You've watched it. Travis, what's up, man?
How you doing, young man? It is extremely amazing to hear your voice and to see your face and to see that magnificent ARMTV HQ banner that you have had installed.
Bam! Bam! So, okay, why are we here? This was your idea. Why are we on this podcast? What brought us here?
Well, do you want me to be completely honest, or do you want me to give you the sales pitch? But I already have you, right?
No, the completely honest.
Okay, well, okay, to be completely honest, I am trying my best to piggyback on the man, which is ARMTV, which is you. So just to be honest, I have struck a deal, and I have a YouTube channel, Travis Bagent. Is it Uninterrupted? I believe is the
okay. Episode 4 with Neil Pickup. He asked you twice what your channel's name was, and you gave the wrong one, bro.
Which one? What is the name? Do you know?
It's like Unfiltered.
No, I don't think it's Unfiltered, is it? Is it Travis Bagent Unfiltered?
You said Unleashed or... Dude,
Travis Bagent.
I don't know, but you gave the wrong name.
Well, we got to get it right. We got to get it right. Can you?
I'll put it up in text. I'll put it up in text.
Right.
I'll put it up.
I've got to do this YouTube channel, and I've been just brainstorming like crazy about what kind of format, how could I do it, and then lo and behold, you pop up, right? And I start watching some videos, and we've had a few conversations. We probably talk 3 or 4 times a year since this, since we used to hang out all the time. But the fact is that seeing you there made me, at first I was going to host this show and bring on guests and do all kinds of the same stuff that everyone else does. But I struggled with it, to be honest. Then I was going to do just a Travis Bagent story time, right? Because I got some crazy stories. Crazy stories, right? Crazy stories. So I told one of those stories about Ingen Terzi and Mike Solaris and our Plaza Hotel situation. So then I thought maybe I had nailed it in the way that I was just going to do story time with the Beast. But almost all of these stories involve people that I love that really don't want those stories out, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's embarrassing stories because they lost, whether it's, where we were partying at, any of the fun, awesome stuff that I realized a lot of that stuff I have to keep to myself.
Wait. Hold on. Are you saying that, okay, so I'm dealing with the same issue, because like I just released that Scott Wynn video, and then people were like, oh, Scott Wynn doesn't deserve to have the past come back to him. And I'm like, hey, if it was on ARMTV, it's fair game, bro, because all of it's coming back. Are you saying we can't delve into what good are you to me if we can't delve into the fun shit?
Well, that's the truth. The truth is that if you dive into the fun stuff, meaning you ask the question, well, by God, I'm not one to lie. But that's completely opposite as to me setting it up me just spilling my guts with no context at all. So yeah, if you ask me some stories, then I'm ready to deliver them. But the truth is that I need you. I need someone with your energy, someone with your experience, someone with your knowledge, that I love to help me. And then in the process, I have a feeling that I'll be as helpful to you as you are to me, and nothing will ever stop from the moment you stopped.
So from the moment I met you, I put out that video and I put it, Travis Bagent is the most exciting arm wrestler of all time. We know John Brzenk is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And obviously we know he can deliver the most exciting matches of all time. But I've always just connected with your personality. I mean, John brings that excitement to the table. You have like you have the personality. I'm not saying John doesn't have, we all love John, but John does what John does. And you've always been, from the moment I met you, I always connected with the personality. I love the beast. And right away, to go back, if you're just watching, if you don't know some backstory, early on, it was very similar. When ARMTV launched, besides Dave DeVoto and, the West Coast promoters, I think it was just primarily Dave DeVoto, then later John Bergeson. But you were the first to reach out to me, and you basically said, hey man, if I have a tournament, I need you there. You connected with me in the same manner back in 2004, right away, right?
100%.
You've always been a fan is what I'm trying to say.
100%. So from the first moment I met you, there were two things, right? First thing is super hard worker, right? High energy, hard ass worker, right? So I'd like to think that I'm the same way. I like to talk, but usually when the day of comes, I'm working most likely as hard as anybody. So I kind of recognize that about you. And then of course, you were the man then, and from the looks of things, nothing's really changed in that you're out the gates. We had some guys try to step in and kind of do what you do. And, these are great, intelligent, smart guys as well. But to me, you're the first, the best, and the one that I want to hang with the most. So I get it. And let me tell you something else. Just to clarify about this whole John Brzenk's the GOAT and stuff, I get it, right? Listen, there is one person that does not think that John Brzenk is the greatest arm wrestler of all time. And that is me. That's me. Okay?
What? You said in episode 4.
I'm just telling you. Listen, he's the greatest right-hand arm wrestler that has ever lived. And because right-hand arm wrestling, from the existence of our sport being organized, has been put a bit on a pedestal. But don't get it twisted. You've been gone for a few years. And left-handed arm wrestling, right-handed arm wrestling today is equal. And because of that, I feel that I'm the greatest arm wrestler in the world. And there are some other people like you that have that same argument. They feel in their heart that they owe John Brzenk that title, but something in their heart tells them that Travis is a bad dude, right? So you just have that little bug too, just like people have that bug with other guys.
Stop. Now, I need to bring up, because I've read some comments on Neil Pickup's thing that said they don't like when people interrupt you. And you said, if we're going to do this, you need to be able to interrupt me, and it's got to be like a 50-50, because you said you tend to take over the show. So am I allowed to interrupt the T Bagent?
My man, you are 49% owner of this thing. All right.
49?
Yeah. I've never given anyone 49.
40. Okay.
I'm sorry. You are 51% owner of this thing, which means you are. Listen, do you remember what I told you, Gary, 10 years ago? I brought you to West Virginia, and it was right when the show was as important as the show that you were going to produce was as important as the live show. And I said, Gary, you are in charge. You let me know when the action needs to stop. So that's why you're here too, is so that you can do that.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't want to jump ahead because I had that as a topic, because that was like I'm feeding from the podcast you did. I have a lot of questions, follow-up questions from the stuff you did with Neil. But since we brought up the whole John Brzezinski GOAT, in there, I think episode 4, you state he's your favorite arm wrestler of all time. So is that, did you say favorite, or you said he was the greatest? Because I kind of believe that you set the stage that you too yourself that felt that he was the greatest of all time. And hold on. The reason why, I have 2 reasons why I don't yet put you into that category. And again, I want to get to this later, because you've blurred the lines between arm wrestler and promoter. And because you're so good as promoter, now you have people think of you as, I think of you almost as a promoter before an arm wrestler. So you blurred that world. And I think that's what takes it away. 2, another reason why I don't put you above John Brzezinski is because when I seen you, if you don't win someone, if you don't beat someone fast, I mean,
are you? I thought that we went over the guidelines. Are you just gonna disrespect me the whole time?
I'm just saying, if you don't beat someone fast, you know what kind of tends to happen. Like when I see you get into a hook with your equal, you know what happens.
Listen, you think John Brzezinski's the man. I think John Brzezinski's the man too. I have no problem with that. I just want you to know that feeling that you had when you know that John Brzezinski's the greatest arm wrestler in the world. However, that Travis Bagent is always like opening the back door saying, Gary, right? That noise, no one else, you don't hear that noise anywhere else. So I am okay with you hearing that noise. I understand it. I heard that noise too a long time ago, and that noise is so loud now that it's easy for me to say that I'm the best arm wrestler in the world. But I also think that it's easy for you to say that John Brzezinski is the best, and that you can find 100 times where I've said it, that he is the best.
Well, and also let's look at, like, let's say if you take the origins of our country, when we were like trying to break away from Britain and we had to like create our own government and they had to elect a president.
Don't get our podcast eliminated already. Don't go too hard with this. What
I'm saying is back in the day when all the like people in charge that figured out how the government was going to work, they knew like, okay, we need a leader. It's like George Washington. George Washington is like the man, and everyone just agreed he's the man. And going forward, if you're going to have a man lead the way, it's unanimous. George Washington was the man. Now, if you're trying to take your sport to the next level, and we're thinking 50, 60, 70 years from now, when like none of us are on the earth, everyone can unanimously say that like there's no better human being that encapsulates the sport of all aspects of it in terms of everything. I'm not good enough to even break that all down. But the John Brzezinski to be the statue that like leads the country of arm wrestling, like we can all agree he's just the perfect guy to just, everyone knows that guy. He should be the statue that we remember forever. No disrespect to Travis Bagent. You have your place. But I mean, come on. In terms of a human, it's no argument. John Brzezinski. So that's why I just pick him. But I love it when you say
it. I have no problem with you building a statue of John Brzezinski. Just don't be surprised if in my town we erect a Travis Bagent statue as well. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, we'll just make it a little bit.
Maybe it's bigger. Maybe it's bigger. But it's off the road a little bit. But could it be bigger? Could be.
So you asked me, first of all, you stated also, again, Neil Pickup. I love Neil. I'm borrowing a lot from the things I learned there. You stated, you're like, he's talking about episode 3, and you're like, I'm already done. I'm already over it. I can tell why John Brzenk didn't do this forever. Yeah. Like, I'm the same way. I cannot promise you we're 2 years from now, we're going to be at episodes 176, T. Bagent and Gary Roberts, blah, blah, blah. Like, this may be a limited series. We have to see how it goes. I can't promise you this is a forever relationship. This may be a one-night stand between you and I.
All I know is I know a lot of information about you. I expect to get at least 50 shows, or there's going to be I'm going to fill them in with the stories of the Travis Bagent adventures.
Well, I've got some stories about you too. And first of all, this relationship, us on camera, we don't always have to agree, right? We can butt heads a little bit.
I'm always right. I understand completely. Yeah, no problem.
But I mean, I've been a fan of yours, but that doesn't mean I'm going to kiss your butt throughout this whole process.
I understand that our relationship has changed a bit. Okay. There was a time when you would call me Mr. Bagent. Now, 50-50 Padres in life, both fathers, got kids that 20 years old and newborns. So I think we got a lot in common. I know how strong you are, how strong your personality is. So I think it's a match made in heaven.
Why I think so. You and I from memory, like if people said, hey, what's this show going to be about or whatever, for one, we haven't even thought of a name, but I remember back in the day, like Facebook, social media, you and I, we'd be on the phone late at night, like dream sessioning about arm wrestling. What could we do? How do we do this? Like we had like conversations that maybe a couple hours at night, just bullshitting of what we could do if we had the resources, right? And correct me if I'm wrong.
100%. And we would always plan it out for like a 10-year strand too. It was magnificent ideas that, that we probably dropped the ball. Not like, especially now, thinking about this relationship that we're embarking on now. Imagine if we'd have just stuck with this for the last, 10 years, right? It could have been amazing.
So it's no surprise that we're here right now because we've had this connection throughout this entire thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't think we're the only ones. I think that other people have those conversations as well. I know they do, matter of fact. But
no, of course. That's why.
The good thing is a lot of times the two people that are having their conversations don't understand exactly everything that it has to go into it, right? So there's a lot of trial and error, a lot of experiment that goes on. So I feel that we both have done arm wrestling with a $2 budget and a $20,000 budget. So it's a lot easier for us to just hit the ground running, knowing exactly what we want to do, what we can do, and why or why not the process has taken, so long.
Okay, I want to ask you something. I put up the Jerry Catterett, Travis Bagent super match. And when I think about that super match, I think about how you lost, you became a little baby, and you stranded me in Connecticut, and you went back to New York City without me. Do you remember this?
No.
You're supposed to.
No. I did not go to New York City. I went home.
Right. Oh, you were supposed to give me a ride to New York City.
Okay.
And you left me in
I didn't
Connecticut.
even talk to you about it?
No. Dude,
did you call me the next day and tell me I was crying about it?
Dude, I finally got a hold of you at 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, my plane leaves in like 2 hours. What happened to you? And you said, I got pissed and I left. I went straight home. I just want people to know this is our relationship. It's not perfect. Yeah. You fucked me that day.
That's awesome because when I think about that, I have a lot of horrible memories about that trip. However, screwing you over has never crossed my mind until right today that you said that. So I'm sorry about that, bro. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was very traumatizing. That was very traumatizing.
dude, I had to come up with a last minute ride to New York City at like 5:30 in the morning because I didn't realize you disappeared.
So
You
even at 10:30 at night, you went to sleep thinking I was still there.
Yeah, we had a plan, we had a plan that you were
Right.
gonna pick. I don't remember the details. I just know that I didn't know you drove home to like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when you finally answered the phone, and you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was pissed and I just went home. I forgot about
Yeah.
you." Anyways,
I was, yeah.
I wanted to get
Very traumatic time that
I wanted to
event.
get that out of the way. Okay, I got a question before we get started. People have been asking me. Oh, I wanted to say one thing. So it was a few months ago, before I ever even anticipated getting back into the sport of arm wrestling. I was watching you posting stuff about Tyson and his football exceptionalism on Facebook, and
Yeah.
I had a moment of like true sadness because I was so close to you and your family, all the kids. We used to wrestle. We had such good times when they were little. And I had this true sadness that I missed out on all these years of being like close to you guys. And I was like so sad, but it never connected with like, oh, I should get back into the sport. Oh, I should call Travis. I just was hit with this sadness of a disconnection of seeing how amazing he's grown into this young man, and that I used to be all tight with you guys, and then it completely, like, we lost touch. Anyways, I find it funny that we're now here. I'm back in the sport of arm wrestling. Oh, what was that? Was that you or me?
That was my mother. She has no respect for the studio. No respect for the studio.
I thought it was my wife walking by.
I saw that.
Anyways,
anyway,
it's so
just
funny.
to comment on what you just said. Imagine the pain and the therapy that the kids had to go through when their Uncle Gary just abandoned them. And then tries to come back in their life after 12 years when they're flourishing. And now, because he's about to go to NFL, Uncle Gary's trying to get back in the pocket. Right? That's what I got to explain to my kids, Gary. So hopefully you'll mend those relationships.
Dude, I'm jumping ahead, but I can't help but I was watching that podcast, and I don't know, when I saw Pulling John, I don't think they quite talked about in detail of you and your dad's relationship and how you used arm wrestling to get kind of like respect from him. And you said he never really truly pushed arm wrestling on me. I kind of did it on my own. But had he pushed arm wrestling on me, I don't know if I would have gone after it as much. And I kept thinking about Tyson. I was like, shit, did you ever try to get Tyson to be an arm wrestler? What is his skill level? Like, could I beat Tyson at arm wrestling?
I don't know. I don't think you could. You probably couldn't. But I think Scott Wynn could beat him.
So if you have a kid who's like has NFL potential, do you keep him away from the table because of injury?
Yes.
Potential injury.
100%. When they were young, before they went to bed, we'd pull 3 hook matches, left-handed and right-handed, up until Tyson was about 11 years old. And then we noticed Tyson throwing the ball a lot. So I'm like, don't worry about it anymore. So then with Ezra for a couple more years, and then we started watching him throw the ball. So neither one of them, but don't get me wrong, at the gym is the arm wrestling table. So every once in a while, I'll look over there and they got some poor kid over there and they're just working him. Yeah, well, especially Ezra.
Big props to you. Is it like work or genetics that these kids are beasts?
Well, I think that my father was special genetically. And I heard that skips generations, because I don't know if I'm exceptional strength-wise. So if that did skip a generation, my dad was a weirdo beast. And my kids are, I think it's a combination of probably great DNA and a lot of work. And, you know, I can't take the credit for Tyson because, you know, Tyson gets up 2 hours before I do to get his work in. And he cooks for himself and he does his own thing. You know, he took 4 summer classes this year without me even knowing. So he's all over it. So he surpassed me. And he told me a year ago, he said, I'm either gonna go to the NFL, be a Navy SEAL, or win the CrossFit Games. I'm not sure which one. I'm like, well, I'm not sure which one's the harder, honestly, out of those 3.
Well, let me just put it out there. Dude, your son, I'm impressed. I can't, yeah. I mean, props off to the man. And to add insult to injury, I'm watching Facebook yesterday, and he does the basketball spin on his finger, and I'm like, oh, like he's just a stud in other levels. It's like, dude, he kind of kills you, bro. Your kid is gonna be ridiculous. 10 times the stud as Travis.
Who do you think? Who do you think taught him not to make a face or act like he was surprised that he made it? Where do you think he got that from, Gary? Yeah.
Bagent.
100%. Yeah.
We got into it. I got into it a little bit before, but man, when I think about Travis Bagent, I can't help but think of you. Like when I think of greatest of all time, it's like you are so good at every aspect of arm wrestling. You're good at, you can throw a tournament, like you said, with a crayon. You can get on the mic. You can pump people up. You can find sponsors, but you can compete with the best and the best of the world on the table. But if you're off the table, you could coach somebody to be the best. It's like you have the if there was a CrossFit Games of arm wrestling and all aspects of it, that's where I give you the title like greatest of all time, because you can do everything in the sport.
We hope you like the content. Thanks for stopping by. Please leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. Now click that little bell icon so you get notified. This was Gary Roberts and Travis Bagent live.
Damn it! Do something else. Don't ever say them 2 names to